Hey YouTube, I guess might as well start putting up my first video since everyone's been asking me to. So I figured start off with kind of giving a tour of my machines and kind of what I'm working with, what my goals are for next year and future plans. Right now, this year I kind of had a lot of life changes, but one of my big ones was deciding to raise cattle next year. I had a plan starting with that, and then hopefully in a couple years expanding acres. So right now, I currently have, as you can see, a couple pieces of hay equipment, 2 tractors. Those forage boxes I'm renting the shed space out to a friend. I did cut some hay this year, and this is kind of what I'm left with. 88 bales off 3 acres of hay, 3.5 acres of hay. I currently I got about 6 acres here, but about 3 of it is in pasture, 3 to 4, and I'm kind of working on fencing and kind of just trying to get going, because I really have a lot that I have yet to buy, but I got my big stuff done. So I guess we'll start with I really love this tractor. It's an Allis D15. It's got under hours do not work, but the guy I bought it from said it was roughly 6,000 to 7,000, or about 6,000 hours. It's a little unique because instead of like a regular Michigan farming might know this, but this is normally your power director, and you can normally flip it back for low or high. But it actually has this lever, which is like a hydro. If I push that, well, of course it's not on, but if I push that forward, it goes forward. If I back up, it's basic controls. I've only had it for a couple months now, but it's been really handy. I mean, 3-point, full loader. I haven't looked into the year, I haven't checked in the serial number, but I bought it from a guy that really knows his Allis stuff and took care of it well. Second piece of equipment, which I still, as you can see, I haven't cleaned the hay out of yet. It's been busy helping my buddy and with work and a job change and everything. So it's my new Holland 310 with a 269 thrower. I'm currently looking or waiting to save up cash to buy a throwing rack. This year I just kind of threw them off to the side. It kind of worked nice, but it'd be really nice to make it a one-man operation. But it worked flawlessly. So bought this at an auction a couple months ago. Next thing is my JI case rake. I don't know how many of these are made. I couldn't find anything on them. There's no manuals. I really didn't hear much, but I do plan on putting up some repair videos possibly if I can figure out how to get my phone mounted, or we'll see how this video turns out. But I do need to go through this gearbox, because right now I went through it once when I used it and it worked real good, but the gearbox, from what I've seen, it's somewhat like a John Deere gearbox, but it can't disengage itself. And and even when I back up, it still starts moving. So I brought it home from my hayfield, which is 4 to 5 miles away, and it was squeaking coming home, but it didn't do anything. And then finally started moving equipment around, and next thing I know, it started kind of acting weird and started making noises, and all of a sudden it started moving again. So, and then as you can see, I also need to get a jack put on it. They had a weird jack system, and that was broken, so I gotta buy one of those too. Otherwise it works great. Next thing is my John Deere. I know I'm an Allis guy, but I'm kind of, as you can see, I got a lot of mixed equipment. But my John Deere 1209 haybine. Originally, when I started this year, I was kind of set. I didn't know what I wanted, and my buddy, he has one. And I really, it's that green paint. I know a lot of guys kind of are issues with that, but it's been wonderful. I mean, I bought it, greased it up, and used it the first time, and it ran great. Didn't see an issue. I mean, you see the rollers look really, really good right there. It works wonders. I gotta clean this up too, and I'm hoping to get to that all today, but I can say that I have a mixed farm. And then finally, my big baby, which I really love, she's the 190. This is the one that, oh, by the way, this is a diesel, and that D15 is a gas. This is a 67 model. I bought this middle of this year. It's perfect for what I need. It's kind of where I can start with, and hopefully I have this tractor for a long time. So if you guys like my content, hopefully you guys start to follow me along and see how this whole ride goes. So, but yeah, this is my 190. I'm having issues with this because my issue seems to be that when I was baling. Well, it first happened, I was brush hogging, and I had it first, and all of a sudden it popped out, but it felt like it was still engaged because you could hear it rattling. So then I popped it out, tried going back in, it would not work. And then that was okay, fine. I stopped brush hogging, and then I bought the hay equipment, and I started cutting with the windrower. And I cut first gear all fine until I was about halfway done, and then it kind of started acting up, popped out. And the two gears that it pops out in are first. Well, as you can see right here, this is actually first. Most Allis guys will know that. This is first, that's third, this is second, that's fourth. And basically your high is done with, I call it a big stick, but you got your high, neutral, and then you can pop it back for low. And it's whenever I go from here and I want to engage it into high or to low, it seems to pop out, but you can still hear that they're somewhat engaged. So that's another project where I plan on kind of opening it up, and over the winter sometime when I get a sunny day, I plan to open up transmission, see what's going on with it. I've heard springs could be something like Brad said, a shifting fork. I'm just kind of unsure, so. But I baled hay with it in second gear. It's kind of interesting seeing I filled the baler full and it never once gave up. I mean, granted, if it would fill up, I just flip it neutral and let it clear out and go again, but yeah, that's about it. I'll show you my brush hog for anyone that's wondering. I bought this a while ago it was a really cheap find guy had it on the side of the road. 5 foot new idea, number 5, I think. It's basic brush hook cutter, works great for me. So my history with Allis kind of started with, I was working for a farmer that I know. I helped him for a while, and I became really good buddies with him, and he was a big Allis guy, so I worked for him for 5 years. Was raised on Allis and gleaners, so you'll probably eventually see a gleaner on the farm. But he showed me everything I knew, and that kind of sparked my interest in it. So, and then once I kind of started to learn how to drive them, I really fell in love with them. So, going on that. Otherwise, I can kind of show you what my cattle layout is. So I plan on splitting this up into 3 paddocks. I have this part here, which is, there's my house obviously. This is lawn that I'm turning into pasture. And if anyone has any ideas what I could do to really get it to spike up, my goal is kind of to, Brad, I've seen you do it, where you just kind of feed them out in certain areas. But my grazing plan is I want to eventually make this one paddock, and then I have this wooded area which goes back to those trees over there, and it goes around behind, and then I have a total woods area, and I'm hoping to put in as my third paddock. So hoping, I don't know if it's gonna be next year because I'm only thinking about 3 cattle, but my goal is obviously we'll run a boundary fence, as I already have T-posts put in, but we'll run one fence through here, and then they'll have this part, and then we'll split. I'll run one fence from that post to the fence here, or to the corner of the shed, and I'll run one straight line with me. And they'll have one lane here, they'll have this pasture to my right, and they'll have this paddock to the left. And then up here, I'm just gonna basically take one fence, and if they wanna go whichever way they wanna go, I'll switch them off. But I plan on letting them on the pasture for a few days, and maybe a couple of you guys can give me some tips on this, but let them in the pasture, pull them off, feed them. I plan on feeding them my hay and then my first cut for next year, letting the grass grow up, and then like keep them in their lot for a couple days, feeding them hay and stuff. And then maybe a week later, or after those 2 days, let them out in a different paddock and just kind of watch the grass as it's growing. Because I have this, which is obviously lawn. That over there does produce some pretty decent, I don't really know what it is. It's not orchard. It's almost like a reed canary maybe. But I do have orchard grass that grows behind the building here. There's a big open spot at the end of there, and I get a lot of nice grass off that. But I didn't cut any of this year for hay, so that's kind of why I asked yesterday on the live stream about taking my manure. Otherwise, I'm thinking I might just spread it on my pasture next year. So otherwise, that's all I got. If you guys got any questions, just pop a comment below, and hopefully give me a like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.